In today's video we're reviewing the Makita DFR551 automatic screwdriver. If you watched my previous videos, I compare the 551 to the 550, and the 551, which is this item, I decided to keep and have it as my own automatic screwdriver. I've been asked by a few of my viewers if I can get this video out. The reason for it taking so long is that I still haven't made up my mind 100% if I can recommend or not recommend this item. It has some very good pluses to it, but it also has some very annoying habits as well. So let's get into my thoughts on what I feel about the Makita DFR551. As I've shown in my previous videos, we can now get hold of the PZ2s, the square heads and the PH2s for this driver. The screws I've been driving in are 55mm wood screws and 50mm stainless steel screws. Overall, I still like the feel of this gun. As I've stated in my previous video, I like the way that it feeds the screws down out of the way and comes up, rather than the old version. I love the quick release on it so that you can use it as a driver. It's also got a reverse on it so you can pull the screws back out again. The depth stop is very easy to adjust, and the trigger works nicely. I haven't used it on bump stop yet, so that basically each time you drive a screw in, it automatically does the driving part for you. I think this would work nicer on smaller screws and possibly plasterboard screws, but when you're driving through harder wood using the 55mm, you need to use the variable part on the trigger so that you can slowly start it up and then drive it in, so that you're not totally stripping out either the screws or the heads. I don't know if this shows up on the camera or not, but this was my first one that I used, the PH2, when it came in, and I totally annihilated that within a couple of hundred screws, because I was driving it in at full pelt right from the start, rather than slowly pulling the trigger in and then going up to full pelt. Slide it in here, slide it around, and then drop it up and through, and then pull it up, and then that's ready and loaded to go. So I like the way that this just hangs down when you're using it. So driving the screws in is just a case of popping it on. Now this is one annoying thing that it's got. If you accidentally push it through, the screw forwards to the next screw, and now I've got two screws ready, and when I push through again I'll be on the third screw. So to release it, there's a button underneath here. Press the button in and then you can pull your screws back. So it's just a case of start the drill up, and that's it, all the way in. So don't have it on flat out, or otherwise you will get through your bits, and the bits are very expensive to buy. So that one has now threaded itself because it's stainless steel. And that one. So they go in nicely when you're actually using it, but because I was trying to do it at a weird angle to stay out the way for the camera, I threaded those heads very quickly. If we change it over and do some flooring screws which have the square head in them, so to change the bit, all we do is pull these two catches on either side forwards. This releases the front mechanism. Then if we push the drill bit back and hold the clasp, we can then just change the drill bit straight over. I do like the way that this is all metal here now. That's a lot stronger. And then just pop the drill back in and she's ready to go. Once you've got your screws in, make sure that you have the front guard far enough forwards for whatever type of screw you're using. On the top there's two push buttons. If you push those down, you can then pull the front guard forwards so that we're at the right length for the 55mm screws. So we've set the depth to 55mm, we've got the square head bit in there, and we'll drive some of these screws in now. These ones are driving in a lot better. And because the heads on these are just slightly bigger than they recommend, it does get caught on this slightly, as you can see by me wiggling the top off. On the side here we have height adjustment for the screw as well. So if we go to maximum height, this leaves it proud slightly of the material, and then you could go in and just wind that down to the exact height if you wanted to. If we now do one at maximum depth, this has sunk it right below the level of the wood. There we go, found the height that I like again now. Just below the surface very slightly so that I don't bruise the wood too much. So the bits I like about this, I like the feed in now at this angle. I like the angle of the machine. I like the way it feels in my hand with the belt clip. I like that the inside is metal. I also like that I can drive it below the surface as well as leaving it proud. And it is very simple to take the parts apart without having to have any screwdrivers or Allen keys or anything when you've got a jamage. I'll show you some video now of this in action, putting up some cladding with some of my comments as we go along. But if you don't want to watch this part of the video, I can recommend this gun if you're after an auto screwdriver. It works well, but it does have a few flaws. But I think all screwdriver guns have that same flaws on them. I've heard the Hilti one's really good, but I'm not into that battery system, so that's not an option. One recommendation is not to use it to push a piece of wood in, because it then advances to the next screw. Whereas usually I'm used to holding a piece of wood with the screwdriver end. Now we just put a different clip of screws in, and these are going in like butter again. So I don't understand what's wrong with that clip. So I have to have a look into that. Stainless steel screws have such weak heads on them. So what I've found, the screwdriver unit works reasonably well. The stainless steel screws do have a weaker head than your normal wood screw, but just as long as you're careful putting them in, this is actually quicker than doing it manually. But I would recommend it really if it was a two-person job, so that somebody can be holding the wood and the other person can just worry about screwing them in. Trying to hold the wood and screw them in is a little bit harder, because what happens is the screw sometimes goes off at a different angle. But when it works well, it saves you a lot of time. It's nice that it's got a variable depth stop so that it doesn't push the screws in too far without you realising. So when it goes in well, I say this machine's brilliant. But when it jams or puts the screw out at a different angle because you're trying to do it at a weird angle up here, or you're trying to do it left-handed, it's not as good. But I'm not 100% certain if I can recommend it for this type of work. If this wood wasn't coming back off again, I'll be in with the nail gun every time. Well, I hope this brief overview has been helpful for someone. If you want to have a look at this in my first video, check my previous videos out. I'll leave a link at the end of this video for it as well. Well, I hope you'd like my take on the DFR551 auto screwdriver by Makita. A couple of bits that I forgot to mention at the beginning of the video. It's also a brushless motor now, so that will basically just keep going. It has forward and reverse on it, and it also has an auto lock off for it, as well as the auto driving. As I say, I haven't tried the auto driving yet because I'm using bigger screws where I want to use some finesse over the screws themselves. Please leave any comments that you have on this and I'll try and answer any questions. And if you could give my video a thumbs up, that would be much appreciated. Thank you for watching and subscribing.